Well, hi, everybody. Very excited to have Miles Surreal with us. And Miles is a published researcher and scientist. He has a role as a national educator at CV Sciences, and he's appeared as an expert on subject matter regarding CBD, other health topics on the national media. He's lectured around the world and, of course, the United States as well on the science of cannabinoids. And we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk also how that ties into immunity, both long-term, and then some other cutting edge stuff he's been working on in terms of helping people with their immune system for short-term use and long-term. So that's good stuff given this time of year. Miles received his Master of Science in Experimental Medicine from McGill University in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Of course, that's one of the most highly regarded universities in Canada. And there he studied the regulation of lung antioxidant genes to environmental toxicants. While completing his master's, he worked as an educator at Cambridge Naturals, a renowned natural foods and supplement retailer in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So Miles, great to have you on the show.
Hey, Dr. Mark Stengler, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate the time.
Well, you've got an interesting background, Master of Science. That takes a lot of work to get that degree. And so you understand biology, you understand how cell receptors work.
I'm a science nerd to the core.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. And you have a popular YouTube channel. Tell us about that.
Well, it's not quite popular yet, but we're trying to get it there. CV
Yeah.
Sciences on YouTube hosts a running kind of TV episode thing we got going on, Minute with Miles. So if you like the kind of information that we're going to be talking about today, please, I invite you all watching at home to check that out on YouTube at CV Sciences.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a bit about first stress and the impact on the body. Everyone hears the word stress. There's psychological stress, emotional stress, physical stress. Maybe just tell us a bit with your biochemical background, what's happening in the body when people are under these different types of stress?
Absolutely. And of course, there are a lot of different types of stress. And I always want to preface this by saying stress is neither good nor bad. It just is. But it's the duration, the time, the space, when and why is what causes the body to either be in balance or thrown out of balance. And too much stress, prolonged stress, stress induced by, watching television and you're watching crazy news and you feel like your heart rate going up and then you can't sleep as much because you're thinking about all this stuff. That has a really depleting effect on the body. We have a hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. And basically what happens is that under chronic stress, the adrenal glands start to produce a hormone known as cortisol. And cortisol can kind of start to wreck metabolism. If left unchecked, cortisol has effects on weakening your immune system. Both stress and the immune system require huge amounts of cellular energy in the body. And when you have too much stress, you're literally robbing your immune system of the energy it needs to mount an effective defense.
Yeah, very well said. Now, I like that you made the point, stress is neither good or bad. It kind of depends on how you perceive it, how the health of your body is, because we need stress. I mean,
Right.
For example, you exercise. I mean, that kind of stress is good for the body, balances out your immune system,
Absolutely.
helps maintain muscle tone and all that. So that's a very good point. And by the way, for the viewers out there, we did interview Miles on our Forever Young radio show. You can listen to on Sirius Radio. And if you want to listen to that show where we talk about similar type of topics, go to our website at americasnaturaldoctor.com, and there you can look for the interview with Miles and get even more information. So Miles, everyone's interested in the last few years on CBD. And of course, you're the national educator at CV Sciences, which specializes in CBD, as well as other things. And so people are very intrigued about CBD. It seemed to have lost some of its concerns, if you will, when people are understanding really how we're using it as a nutritional supplement and a lot of the great data on it. So tell us more about just CBD, and then let's tie that into the immune system.
Well, it is a little bit of a confusing topic, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. CBD is an ingredient from hemp, and emerging research suggests it may have benefits in the areas of stress management, sleep hygiene, pain, and mood. In fact, users of plus CBD are reporting feeling more comfortable in their own skin overall. So there is a lot of new research coming out about this ingredient and how it can help people. Now, what most people don't realize is that the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, still does not recognize CBD as a lawful dietary supplement. So there is still more regulatory work going on to really get this thing to the level of legality that we would all want it to be at. That being said, I've never seen an ingredient go from completely illegal to now everywhere on Main Street. I mean, I think the major changing point or transformation point is the passage of the December of 2018 Farm Bill. And in the Farm Bill, there was a provision that specifically stated that hemp is defined as cannabis sativa that contains not more than 0.3% THC, and it takes hemp off of the Controlled Substances Act. So even though FDA is still trying to figure out what the heck to do with CBD, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, is no longer concerned about it. And that's why you're able to find it in your clinics, in your health food stores, in your community pharmacies now.
Absolutely. And I run into a lot of patients who are using it. And of course, we can talk later, but people need to use the right dose, use the right product, the right type of spectrum and products to get the best effects. But, you know, it's interesting, in the human body, we have these CBD receptors all over the place, right? Your brain, the nervous system, and the immune system as well. Talk to us more about that, these receptors, and then how that ties into the immune system and like immune modulation, if you will.
Absolutely. So we produce in our body our own cannabinoid-like molecules. And you call them CBD receptors, but it's actually a kind of a coincidence of nature that the plant cannabinoids, CBD and THC, even work at these receptor sites at all. Because the endogenous cannabinoids that we produce in our own body look nothing like the plant cannabinoids. We have what's called the endocannabinoid system. And it's kind of like when we talk about systems, I'm not making up a brand new organ system. It's not like pointing to your liver and saying, here it is. This is a transmitter system, kind of like serotonin you can find as quote unquote a happy hormone in your brain, but serotonin as a transmitter is also employed by immune cells. It's employed by cells of the digestive tract. So you can kind of think of endocannabinoid transmitters as a little bit like a neurotransmitter such as serotonin or dopamine, etc. And these endocannabinoids that are in all of us are produced in the brain where they control sleep, stress. They have roles in protecting brain cells from insult and injury, and they have roles in modulating food-seeking behavior. So if anybody has consumed cannabis before, specifically higher THC cannabis, and they got the munchies from it, it's because the THC overactivated the system. It flooded the receptors and drove some food-seeking behavior. But from the research on that, we can now understand that maybe certain disease states or syndromes, maybe metabolic syndrome or type 2 diabetes, might be an example where the endocannabinoid system is overactivated for some unknown reason. And this is where we can start to explore various therapeutic agents, whether they're pharmaceuticals or natural products, to balance out the system so that the endocannabinoid system is better serving your health and goals rather than driving food-seeking behavior. So for example, we recently conducted a placebo-controlled trial with plus CBD. And we found that people taking CBD overall had some improvements in their metabolic markers compared to placebo. And it could be because it's fine-tuning this kind of complex system in your body rather than overactivating it like THC or another agent.
Right, right. Well, now we're in this cold flu season, viruses, bacterial infections. People are really focused on the immune system. Tell us a bit about CBD and its interaction with the immune system. Do you like the term modulation? If the immune system's too hyperactive, it has a balancing effect, bring it down to a normal regulation, or if it's underactive, it helps to normalize it. Is that a term that you like in terms of CBD and the immune system?
I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Immunomodulation is certainly very important. And of course, the immune system is so complicated. There are
Right.
so many various cell types within the immune system. And I think that a lot of people want to think, oh, if I take this herb, it's an immune boost. And I say,
Right.
not quite, no such thing, right? Because there's just so
Yeah.
many parts of the immune system. And you might not want too much of an immune boost that might manifest itself as autoimmunity. And so I feel that the right or the correct use of CBD results in some anti-inflammatory benefit,
Mhm.
some inflammation supporting responses. And this is especially important in terms of resolution of symptoms when people are dealing with various types of infections. For example, oftentimes the symptoms that you experience when you're dealing with a common cold, for example, is actually a product of your immune system overreacting to the virus rather than anything that the virus is doing by itself. And so we can use CBD almost like we might use an over-the-counter painkiller just to kind of balance out some of this excess inflammatory responses. And I personally don't use CBD as much when I am dealing with common colds or what have you. There
Right.
are other types of supplements that I prefer to more specifically nurture the immune system in those moments.
Right. Yeah, I think CBD could be a good choice for a patient who's just prone to the effects of stress, anxiety, these types of things, because when you offset, perhaps you're just too anxious, you're not sleeping well, CBD is a good choice. But like you said, in terms of a direct kind of more specific treatment for the immune system, there's other things we use, which I want to talk to you about that, because as a researcher, like myself, we're always looking for the best natural products that are safe and effective to help people. And again, we're in this season where people are worried about infection. So, with CV Sciences, you have some new products out. Let's talk about your CV acute product, and then we'll get into the one that's used for more long term.